Hello, welcome to Shamanism, Metaphysics, and Grace. I'm Lauren Hubele, here with my favorite astrologer, Jyoti Wind. Hello,
Hi.
Jyoti.
Hi, Lauren.
So, Jyoti, it's been a bumpy week already,
Yeah.
and I know there are reasons for it. So, I think we all look to you each time we gather to unpack what's happening right now and maybe how we can prepare ourselves for what's coming. So, what are we feeling right now, Jyoti?
For me personally, I'm feeling relief. It's been a very, it's been a very intense 2 weeks, to say the least. And personally and even collectively, Mars had conjuncted Pluto, and then Venus came up and conjuncted Pluto, and then we have this Venus-Mars conjunction, and we're heading toward a full moon on Saturday. Sorry, Friday, tomorrow, February 23rd. So it's been a kind of take no prisoners feeling, like people are um, maybe pushed to really look at their responses and reactions to situations where the old way of dealing with something that automatically comes up because it's the old pattern isn't working so well anymore, you know?
Yeah, it feels like a lot of push to your limits.
Yeah. Yes, and Pluto is that in a sense. In order to transform something, sometimes we have to push beyond the limits of what we think we can do. I mean, I remember in the beginning of my metaphysical study, I was told, you're never given more than you can handle. But sometimes that's a stretch. Sometimes what you think you can handle and what's being presented to you, there's a wide gap in between there that it takes some faith and fortitude and trust in yourself to bridge.
Sure, sure. And hopefully not resistance.
Well, anytime there's a Pluto something, resistance is not your friend. It's just the way it is. The more you can surrender and go with it and see what it has for you. What's the message here? What's the opportunity here? You know, um, it stretches us to do that, to just breathe out and keep breathing out and just relaxing into whatever's on your plate.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I have some questions for you at the end of maybe what we can do with all this. But until then, let's talk about the full moon.
Okay. So the full moon is tomorrow, Friday the 23rd at 5:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And it's the full moon of Pisces, Sun in Pisces, Moon in Virgo. And so they're creating this polarity between sensitivity and sense of service with discernment and picking and choosing. And so it has us looking at how do we care for ourselves and our sensitivity and vulnerabilities while we try to make good choices and and look at things through a lens of non-judgment but discernment.
Mm.
Okay. How do we accept our vulnerabilities without armoring ourselves, or going into our head about the feelings and just kind of disassociating so we don't have to feel too much,
Mm.
And so how do we keep that balance, head and heart, let's say, or mind and feelings? How do we keep that balance? How do we keep that balance
Mm.
between those two aspects of ourselves, so that we're not stepping into a lot of emotional drama or hiding away with that Pisces sensitivity, and we're not going into our head and judging it and saying, oh, I don't need to deal with this, and moving on to something else and not dealing with what's up inside you.
So it sounds like that this full moon is an opportunity to look at our habitual responses right?
Well said. I mean, that's like astrological and psychological haiku right there,
Oh,
Lori.
perfect,
Thank you.
perfect. Thanks, Jyoti.
You're welcome.
So, but it comes up, and it also I always love how this happens. I mean, it's coming. This full moon's coming at this time where we're feeling pretty thrashed about and a little beaten up, and it's giving us this opportunity to go, why, why are you letting this happen to yourself?
Right. Or how am I contributing to
Right.
my yeah, to my own emotional discomfort, when maybe I could just step back and and just maybe take a kind of what's the word I want? Kind of a a view that's not so caught up in what's happening in front of you. Just a little bit of distance. It's like when you're writing. Let's say you're writing a situation that happened to you. Maybe you're writing a memoir, and you're writing a situation that happened that was very painful. So you have it in here, and whether it's the arm's reach to the keyboard of the computer, or whether it's the distance with a pen to the page, you're giving yourself that much distance to be able to look at it. You're getting out of your head, and you're writing it down or typing it up or whatever, and you give that to yourself as you're reliving it to write it, but you're giving yourself just that much distance from it to be able to look at it a little bit more objectively. And that was the word I wanted. A little bit objectivity.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like that the energy of this full moon will help give us that space for the objectivity.
Oh yes, yes. And that's just the moon and the sun. What else is happening is that Mercury and Saturn are on each side of the sun opposing the moon. And so it's really wanting us to take our own authority, to see our strengths, and to see where we, even if we get caught up in the moment, where we normally reside in more rational terms, and can make those discerning choices. Um, Pluto and Mars and Venus are all in the very beginnings of Aquarius, and they're squaring Jupiter. And so it's pushing you to look at that Jupiter in Taurus. Where do you put your feet down, your heels down, and said, nope, I'm not moving. And Pluto, Mars, and Venus are saying it would be best for you to be more flexible right now. And
How,
that's putting it
how will they
mildly.
how will they say that to us, Jyoti?
uh, well, it's just something that comes up usually in front of you to look at, or it can be inside, but it can be outside as a mirror for inside. And looking at how do you champion your strengths, how do you pull up those parts of you that know how to do things, know how to deal with things, and address what's in front of you, but not get too snagged by it.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, the North Node and Chiron, the healer, are the exact same degree at 16 degrees Aries. And this is saying healing is your future. It's saying the way out of all of this is your own healing process. Just stay with it. Be willing to try new things. Bring in new patterns. Bring in new ways of doing things.
What a beautiful message right now.
It is. It is, because it's like saying, just get through this right now. There might be a couple more just get through this right now down the road, but in the moment, healing is the destiny anyway. And right now we're seeing it with the North Node and Chiron the exact same degree.
Hmm. And that coming at that same time that we get that opportunity to look at our habitual responses, and we've got this gift there of Chiron too.
Yes, yes, of taking a risk. You know, it's Chiron and Aries. Dangle your toes off the edge of the cliff and see what lives there, you
It
know?
it sounds like it would be a good time to just be paying attention if something drops in for you, a new way of healing that you hear about or you've always wanted to experiment with. And I know you've talked about a number of different tools people can use, but this might be a time to really tune in to see if that comes up.
Oh, and to see what presents itself to the person, you
Right,
know? I mean, it could be different things, of course, for different people. But what of all of it fits for you? Because, you know, we can say, oh, you should be this, or you should eat like this, or you should do yoga. And some people, yoga is not for them. You know, they're runners, or they're, you know, they're more active in their yoga. You know, it could be archery. That's an incredible yoga. You know,
sure.
it could be playing the guitar. That's an incredible yoga. You know, so it's different for everybody. Everybody's body is different. Everybody's cellular structure, everybody's mindset, everybody's ancestry and DNA. It's all so different. One size doesn't fit hardly anybody,
Right. Yeah.
you know. It's taken me a long time to realize that or really accept that. um, but I think that's the truth of it. And today Venus and Mars are the same degree. Before they, you know, they're conjuncting Pluto, but Venus and Mars, the feminine creativity and the masculine powers of manifestation are the same degree. This is the degree of the artist. This is today. This is the degree of the artist when those two polarities, those two electricities in the body come together and offer an opportunity for some type of healing or expression that, because of its blending in with Pluto, could be extremely transformative.
Lovely.
Yeah, yeah. And somebody might feel like, well, I've been wanting to paint for weeks. I'm just going to get the paintbrushes out and throw paint at a piece of paper. You know, that's great. And that's like the best you can do. You know, or I'm going to get that memoir out I've been working on for 10 years, and I want to work on it today and see what I can do with it. You know, so it's a day of creativity. And there's also an Earth grand trine, which involves the moon, which is the emotional body, and Ceres, which is the asteroid of nurturing, and Jupiter, that Jupiter in Taurus, which, aside from its stubbornness sometimes, it's extremely grounding and nurturing. And this whole moon Ceres Jupiter is very nurturing. And so this full moon has this grand trine in Earth, which is about, you know, allowing, well, you could say philosophically, allowing the earth to heal you. But it's also saying, you know, allowing the things in your own life and what you're open to that find their way to you to help you heal. So it's and nurture you. So it's like the same message through several different avenues here in this chart.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Like they're kind of like lasagnaed in, little different flavor to them, but very similar.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Lasagnaed in.
I don't know where that came from.
Beautiful. So before I look at the next aspect I want to look at for next week, I have a quote from Adam Summer. He has a Patreon account and he's on Facebook. I think his Patreon account is the Dragon's Hole, and he's an astrologer. And this really struck me. How to float above the rabble and remain politically non-binary, yet informed, is the true wizardry we must be after.
Oh,
I mean, it really struck me as that it is to an extent about that objectivity, being able to step back and see what everybody's doing, and everybody's got their own agenda, and what's going on for you.
mhm.
You know, that's the wizardry of the times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to look at next Wednesday, which is the 28th. The Sun and Saturn are together. So the Sun is conjuncting Saturn. And so it's just a day, but it's got some it's got a couple different energies. It's really about your own compassion and understanding for yourself. It's all also about claiming your own sovereignty and your own, uh, what would you say, knowledge and just awareness of your own strengths, you know, and also where you limit yourself, because Saturn is all of that. Okay. And so, but it's kind of like the sun won't be conjuncting Saturn again for the year till next year. So it's kind of like looking at what kind of foundations you want to put in place around your own compassion, understanding, and caring for self. Because Saturn is in Pisces, and Pisces is the world server. Pisces is the last sign and is ready to cycle off at any given moment and will be in service to anyone, to help them take that next step. But they often forget about themselves. And part of their learning is to be willing to give to themselves and do for themselves anything they would give or do for someone else.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of the message of the day, I would say.
I like that you said foundational practices in place. Because that's actually comes a term we use in coaching is the things that you're going to do every day or every week or whatever your ritual is to take care. And so what I'm hearing is there's an opportunity to to either review what you're doing for those or bring in something new.
Yes, or to continue if
Right,
something's working. Yeah.
right.
And so it can be, just opening your eyes in the morning and being grateful for the day and expressing your gratitude or in any way, just verbally in the moment or just thinking it or giving thanks to the directions or there's many ways to greet the day. And so how you set an intention um, for how you want to do that. It can be sitting quiet and meditation. It can be going out for an early morning walk. I mean, whatever your propensity is, you know, but having something that begins your day, I think, or ends your day, where you sit and reflect on the day and how it went. And I mean, time is of the essence. People don't have a lot of time for a lot of different things. Some people, and so it's fitting it in however it works for you.
Yeah.
And it can be a silent prayer or statement or thanksgiving. Thank you, universe, for another day. You know, I'm alive and breathing and open to whatever you have for me.
Always. But I love that you put these things out as invitations for folks, Jyoti, in such a practical way, because a ritual and a foundational way to work with ourselves in the day doesn't have to be this big elaborate thing, does it? I mean,
No,
that's something I think we both learned over time. We can make an intention in 30 seconds if we're focused and put our
yeah.
attention.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be that I did yoga stretches every morning and I had a myriad of kids at different times crawling all over me, while I'm doing yoga postures. It's just how it is if you're a householder and a mom or a dad. And now I don't have that. I still do the yoga postures, to a greater or lesser degree. And but that was it for me. I have Capricorn rising. My body gets stiff if I don't move around. So yoga has always been something that worked for me. But for other people, they might get up and go for a run. They might get out in the early crisp morning air and just, with a cup of tea or whatever, and just be really grateful for what their eyes fall upon,
Yeah.
you know? So it's different for everyone, but I was reading something about gratitude the other day, and I wish I could remember what it said, basically. But the tenet was that if you practice gratitude, I think it was for 4 days in a row, of just, switching your mind from where it normally goes to just see what you're looking at, basically, and give thanks for it. That it changes you. It changes your brain chemistry. It changes your attitude, of course, but just even 4 days in a row, I found that phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's opportunity at every turn if we can be awake to see it or want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as you've said, it's always about having a little bit of space to notice these things.
Yeah, and sometimes we're so busy and we have our attention filled up with so many things, and life demands it. We've got kids or families or a job or both, and then we've got schedules for them and schedules for us, and then it's dinner time, and then it's falling into bed at night. And so if there's just a place at lunchtime or before everybody, I used to wake up at 5:30 in the morning, 5:30, sometimes 4:30, to have time for my meditation and my quiet time for writing before my kids woke up. So I wasn't feeling like I was pushing back at something to have some space. I just tried to carve out space for myself where I could. Yeah.
Good, Jody. Anything else to share?
Just that yeah, there's something I want to share, but just the acknowledgement that these are very trying times, and people don't have to feel isolated and alone, um, because we're all going through something. Every being on this planet is going through a shift because the earth is going through a shift. So it's like, somebody used to say to me, we're like fleas on a dog's back. So when the dog is going through something, the fleas are going through it too. It's not just isolated to the earth. We have a symbiotic relationship with the earth. And so, as she is going through a major stage in her own evolution, we of necessity are being dragged kicking and screaming sometimes through the same experience.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
nobody is exempted, even if somebody's life looks real cruisy and real, easy, and you don't know what's going on inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the only other thing I wanted to say was that I have a free YouTube channel under my name, and it's free, and there's some classes on there, but especially if anybody's interested, I have 4 classes, the first 4 classes of astrology that I would teach in person. And so it takes you through the planet signs and houses. And so that's on there for anybody to view if they're interested. It's audio. No, it's video. Actually, it's video. Yeah.
Okay, and they would find that on YouTube on your channel, Jyoti Wind.
Right. Jyoti Wind. Yes. And it's a free channel. You don't have to pay for anything. Any of the classes there you can listen to or watch or whatever.
Yeah. And then Jyoti, occasionally you teach a live class on astrology. Is there anything coming up?
Not currently. I do an astrology study group, usually the first Sunday of every month, but these next 2 months, it's kind of later in the month because I'm traveling. So I usually do a live astrology study group the first Sunday of the month. And if anybody's interested in that, they can find that on my webpage and just email me and I'll put them on the list. And
Okay.
it's not for any specific level of astrological knowledge. It's more of an interest or a curiosity, although sometimes I do get into some deeper things, but I always leave the last, it's usually an hour, and I usually leave the last half hour, 40 minutes for questions on anything astrological.
Fantastic. What a great resource.
Uh, it's been great. I've loved it.
Yeah, wonderful.
It's an opportunity for me to share what I know. I mean, I can't take this stuff with me, so
That's
yeah,
right. Thanks,
yeah.
Jyoti. And we're all grateful. Thank you for being so generous. And folks, so it looks like we will be back in about 2 weeks with the next update. So until then, take care and we'll see you soon.
Bye, Lauren. Thank you.